If you want to do art with markers and you cannot afford Copics, this video is for you. Copics are just way too expensive for my budget at the moment. So I went and I did a little bit of shopping on Wish and I found these really cheap markers. And it comes in a little carry case. So there's 80 markers in here. And you got an option of getting the, I don't know what the difference was. I presume it's color range, but you get a choice of common use markers, anime markers, and I think the other one was architecture markers. So I presume the color range varies. So I just went with the common markers. Because I wasn't specifically going to be drawing anything like buildings or anime. So here the markers. We ended up getting these really cheap. So all up, these were about $64 Australian with postage. Yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed with the colors. It's actually a pretty good range. They're a TOUCHFIVE brand. And you got a choice of colors with the barrels. You got a white set and you got this black set. I like anything in black, so I went with the black. And you can see the numbers and the description of what the color is. So yeah, as you can see, now there's a lot of grays in this. That was the first thing that popped out to me, was all the grays. And some of them don't make sense, and I'll get to that later. What I liked about this too is it didn't say in the description, but when I opened this, I was very surprised. I was happily surprised because I found a Touch New white gel pen, 0.8 mil, and I actually thought this was a mechanical lead pencil, but it's actually not. It is a black fine liner, 0.5 mil, and I must admit, I can't imagine these being overly expensive, but this is the best black liner at 0.5 mil I have ever used. If you can see that, the tip is, it's like a ballpoint pen, Nelly, and it is just, yeah, it's awesome. I'm just so impressed with it. I would actually go to Wish and order a bunch of these on their own. So much I like them. This is actually better than the expensive precision pens that I've got. So, and this white gel pen is, yeah, I don't know how much these are, but this is really good. Like, it comes out really thick, thicker than the Uniball Signo that I've got. And I reckon it's a far better pen than the Uniball Signo as well. To the markers themselves. Right, we'll grab one of these. As you can see, there is a fine tip on one end and a broad tip, also known as the chisel nib, on the other end. Now, see, one thing about these is, they're so hard to, some of these lids are so hard to get off. And as you can see, there is your bullet nib, fine tip, and your chisel nib. And as you can see, when I pull the lids off the chisel end, these pop out. You've got to push them back in. So yeah, that's interesting. Some of them too, I've noticed, as I've used this a little bit too, the names are actually coming off. The words are starting to come off already. And there was one in particular, see that one's sort of doing the same. There's one in particular that is, I think it's the 7. No, the 7's not as bad as I thought it was, but yeah, it's coming off, and it was actually like that when I got it. So the best thing you can do when you get a set of markers is do a swatch of them and do a chart like this, so you know exactly what the colors look like on paper. There's a lot of grays, which I'm not complaining because I do use a lot of dark colors, so I'm actually quite happy with that. But a lot of them like this, the colors on the end of the pens, some are pretty accurate. It's not too bad. That one's really good. 98. This one is, yeah, not so great. It actually matches the 2 more than anything, but that doesn't even really do that. 84 is definitely brighter than the swatch. So you've got these 3. As you can see, to me they're just very similar in color with the lids, and as you can see, they're in order. They're very similar, so they're like your skin tone, so they'd be perfect for doing skin tones. So the 29 and the 25 are just the lighter and darker version of each other. Here with the swatches, they do bleed. There's a lot of bleeding sort of happening, although it was actually that's probably my coloring and skills right there. But as you can see, there's little dots all over my swatch. What actually happened was I pulled the lid off the brown, off the chisel nib end, and I put it down to the way that they were stored. I'd say that the ink had run all the way down to the chisel end, and when I pulled the lid off, because there was a lot of ink in there, it sprayed across my swatch sheet. So that's why there's all these little dots everywhere. So there was a lot of ink. Another thing with the greys, as I noticed, they have 2 cool grey 5s. And I think it's the same with the 2 warm grey 5s. I don't know why they've put 2 in there the same numbers and then made them lighter and darker. That's confused me. If you know why, let me know in the comments, because I'm a little bit confused with that. But the greys are cool. Like, you've got your BGs, which is your blue greys, and you've got your CGs, which is your cool greys, GGs, which is your green greys, and yeah, of course, the warm grey. So that's, yeah, it's quite nice. You can see the blue tinge in there, and you can see slightly green sort of tinges in there, which is really good when you're using your greens and your blues and you want to use these for shading. It works really well. Just put these aside. Now, this was my first trial I did, getting well acquainted with the pens. So I did this picture, and I sort of screwed up the hair. Just ignore that. But as you can see, I've tried to layer this color here, which is a 77. I tried to layer it in sections, and as you can see, I call it like a clouding effect. It sort of bleeds a little bit, and it sort of goes a bit sort of cloudy. Yeah, and then I went over it. I should have went over it with like a grey, but I decided to go over a little bit more of the shading with the purple, a darker purple, which was a bad idea because you can't blend, because it's so dark, you cannot blend this in with the lighter purple. It was actually quite bad, and I went back over it, and that's why it's sort of a bit bleedy there. But all in all, it's really good for layering, surprisingly. But yeah, just beware that it's not going to do what Copics do. It's going to do a little bit of a cloudy bleed like that. The outline is also done with the 0.5mm liner that they sent, and I did some of the white, highlights with this white gel pen. So yes, I would honestly recommend, if you're going to store these pens, is to zip it up and store them on their side like that, because then the ink is level and it's flowing through both tips evenly, so you won't have it all just run to one tip, which is really bad, as I found out. Overall, I'm very impressed with these markers. Like, I really like them. And they feel cool. They look cool. You honestly cannot go wrong with these. The numbering system is quite interesting because, as you can see, it goes from dark to a red, like dark reds, into pinks, comes back out to reds, and then goes into like oranges, and then comes back into the pinks again up here. So don't know why. I don't know if there's a reason for that. If you know of a reason, let me know. Another thing I forgot to mention too with these drawings is there's little to no streaking. They're really good. They're not. Oh, there's a little bit of streaking there, but that was actually me sort of trying to layer it. But if you do like if you do one layer, there's hardly any streaking. And that's another thing I like about these alcohol markers too, is I was really worried that they were going to do what like normal water-based textures do. And there's a lot of ink too. I would recommend, as you can see, this is the back of the picture. I actually wrecked my placemats. I actually did this picture on my placemats and it soaked through, and I just cannot get these colors out of my placemat. So definitely put something underneath thin paper if you're going to use thin paper. I'd probably recommend even doing it under the thicker paper as well, just in case, because they just bleed through. One thing about these pens too is they stink. Holy crap, you can pretty much get high. Oh, I can't even open this. After I've finished a picture with these, I can taste the smell of these in my mouth. Overall, they smell pretty nice. If you like smelling pens. And also, the darker the color, the stronger the smell. I don't know why, but if you go up to the blacks and the really dark browns and the dark grays, they'll knock you out. So yeah, there is my review on the TOUCHFIVE alcohol markers from Wish. If you would like to get these pens, I would highly recommend going across to Wish. Just put Copic markers into the search and you just see a whole heap of these pop up. They're quite nice. Quite nice. That's me done. Hopefully this was informative for you and it will help you decide whether or not you start out with some cheap markers to experiment with, so you can then branch out and buy the expensive Copics in the future. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye. Don't forget to watch my speed drawing after this.